Hi, welcome back to Ace of Pentacles. Today we have with us Jesse Kalsi. Jesse is a world-renowned numerologist. He specializes in residential and business numerology and provides valuable insight on the power of numbers and how they affect our lives. In his books, The Power of Home Numbers and All About Numbers, he combines his Eastern upbringing with his Western experience to bring awareness and understanding of this phenomenon. Over the past 20 years, Jesse has consulted thousands of prominent business people and extremely successful communication and entertainment companies. Jesse has appeared on many radio and television shows in the US, and his unique perspective on numerology has amazed his audience. A successful real estate broker by trade, Jesse is also a certified Federal Aviation Administration flight instructor and holds a commercial pilot's license. He received his bachelor's degree in India and holds an LLM in International Legal Studies from Golden Gate University in San Francisco, California. Jesse graduated from the National Defense Academy of India and pursued advanced studies in the Indian Military Academy. Intending to devote his life to military affairs, Jesse left the army when he was informed of his true life purpose while posted at the Jammu-Kashmir frontier. He originally came to the U.S. to learn to fly, but eventually returned here to make his home in California. Jesse Kalsi lives in California with his family. Hi, Jesse. Welcome to Ace of Pentacles. How are you today?
Very well, Zara. It's so nice to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here. Jesse, I've already introduced you to the audience with your summary, your professional summary.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and start here. Let's start with having you tell us a little bit about your career as a numerologist and how you found your way to the specific calling or how it found you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, Zara, as you know, I've been here for many, many years, and, when I came to the United States, it was in the late 80s, and I was a officer in the Indian Army. I served the Indian Army for almost 8.5 years. And then something off, kind of took me out of there. I didn't want to, be in a profession which I suddenly thought was not my calling. So I resigned, and then I took this huge leap of faith to come to America. And it was a very major and a very serious decision, right? It's like, you take a plunge and you have your faith in God and you don't know where you're going to land, but you know that you land someplace, right? So that is how it all started. And when I came here, I attended a flight school in Beachman, Texas. I had a little bit of money saved, and I thought, and as an Army officer, I have a little bit of, my background would connect me better to this kind of a profession. Though nobody in my family had any flying experience, by the way. So that was another big risk that I took. And then there I learned to fly. Then I got my ratings. I got my commercial pilot, my instrument, and then I eventually graduated to be a flight instructor. Then as a flight instructor, I thought, I'll end up in California someplace, and then I think I'll open up a flight school. So that was my mindset at the time. I thought I'll, get into this business and maybe make a few pennies, right? And then I ended up in Yuba City. But, I can tell you something. Numbers have been a very, very magical part of my existence. And I can tell you that. Very, very magical, right? They have come at times and they have, opened doors, right, that you cannot even imagine, I mean, you can have all the knowledge in the world I know many, right? Doctors and lawyers and engineers, right? With all the knowledge of the world, right? All that left logic, left brain, right? But they're still stuck, right? So I remember when I came to Yuba City, right? I was totally, lost, right? I didn't know what to do with myself. I was at a Sikh temple there because I had no place to stay. And so the priest, the local priest that time, right, was wondering, why is this man here? And he's saying that, he has this background and all that. And so he started walking with me around the temple premises, right? And suddenly we spotted a car there. And I just looked at the car and I said, this car number, this is going to meet with an accident. So the guy looks at my face. He says, why did you say that? I said, because the numbers, are kind of colliding. He says, that is my car. And I had an accident just 1 month ago. Can you believe that? And he was the priest or the head priest of the temple. Then he suddenly realized that this guy definitely knows something, right? Then he became a little friendly, less formal. I got to his room and he said, tell me this and tell me that. So I started giving him some tidbits here and there. So he started recording our conversation, right? And he started using that a little bit to the people who came to him, disciples, right? So suddenly from religion, his slant went to numbers, right? To kind of be more convincing to his followers. But the good thing happened was this, that I was kind of broke at that time, right? And I needed some money to, to get adjusted and all this paperwork and all that. So he tells me, listen, So what are you looking? I said, no, I need a lawyer. Some work has to be done, and I need to apply for my paperwork and all that. So he says, hey, no problem. He says, I'll take care of that. So he said, then and because he was a priest in the temple and he knew everybody. So he made a few phone calls, and then and the help came like that. See, the help came like that, and
Yeah.
in no time,
Right.
everything just fell in place. I got, pretty much the following year, I got my green card and everything. But my point is how that one walk around the temple, right, with somebody, I believe God sent this man there, right, and you
Hmm.
take a walk around this gentleman in the temple and then see what opened. It's like a whole door opened. See?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very, very mysterious, and it's very, very mysterious. And then from there on, I found my way, and I just kept moving forward. I did a lot of work. I worked with attorneys as doing paralegal work, and then I was also instructor at a flight school here. And then it just went on and on, and things kept going from one to the other. Then I got into property and real estate and all that, and then but the numbers never left me.
Hmm.
As a real estate
Yeah.
broker, I remember, I'm very grateful that, I closed over a couple of hundred escrows at that time, when I was so actively into property. And the reason for that was, was numerology. I
Yeah.
made a few
Yeah.
sales here and there, and and the equity was shooting up like that, right? So the word spread, that there is something more than just buying a property. There's something in the numbers too.
Yeah.
So I rode that wave, and it's like I said earlier, we closed a couple of hundred escrows, right? And I'm so grateful to
Yeah.
God that whoever came or whatever transactions happened, right? They were all profitable.
Hmm.
All my clients,
Yeah.
and I feel very blessed. Like, see, if good things happen to people who you work with,
Hmm.
your karma, just kind of shoots up by itself, right?
Hmm.
So that's what happened to me, and that's all attributed to my knowledge of numbers. Very basic knowledge
Yeah.
of numbers.
Yeah. No, I love the way you tell that story because yeah, that one walk around the temple and it's amazing to me that your calling, the way that I think about it, your gift, right, is working with numbers and helping others work with their numbers. And you leaned into that in that moment, whatever inspired you to say out loud, pointing to the car and saying that thing, and then that one statement convinced this priest that you had the special gift. And so I love that story. It also, I didn't share this with the audience in your introduction, but I actually know you. You've known me. We've known each other for many, many years. I think the
Yes.
first time you may have met me, I was like 12 or something.
Yeah, I
That's right.
remember. I remember
Yeah.
your mom so dearly. She was such a wonderful
Yeah.
lady, and I always remember her.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was wonderful. She was so spiritual. I always miss her. I see
Yeah.
her all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were a good friend of the family, and I worked with you to buy my current house that I live in.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
remember you came over and I was looking in the Oakland area and I really wanted to live near Lake Merritt. And I told you this. I was like, I really want this house by Lake Merritt and I wasn't able to get it. And then I got this one and I remember the one thing that you said when you came over, because this looks out onto the bay and the bridge. And you said, look at that. You were looking for a lake and God gave you an ocean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always associate you with that memory. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow. And this was before I, kind of went on my own journey to figure out, like, what do I want to do with my life and how do I want to live it? And kind of discovering my own gifts and my own ability to tap into my own inner wisdom. And now I help people do that.
Yes.
But I just wanted to share that story that you were part of that journey and you inspired it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. But by the way, just for your information, right, that purchase is also mentioned in my second book. Of course, no names or anything, right? But if you read my second book, all about numbers,
Yeah.
all about numbers is there. And by the way, my friend Zinat Aman, is Bollywood's superstar. And
Okay.
I told the story to her too. So you don't know that, I'm telling you now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. I've been listening to your book, The Power of House Numbers, which is why I invited you to be on the podcast because I was really intrigued by the way that you do like number patching, you talk about it, and the way that you consult with your clients. So that's a good segue into my next question. Many people will hear the term numerology and they think it's like fortune telling. I know you talk about it differently.
Yes.
But can you tell us just briefly, how do you explain numerology as a tool for self-awareness and decision-making instead of like using it as a prediction mechanism?
Yeah. So that's a great question, right? See, so sorry, you know what it is there are many schools of numbers, there are, different traditions, see, the Chinese have a way of looking at numbers, the Egyptians have another way of looking at numbers, the Hebrews have another angle on number, the East Indians in our part of the world have another angle on numbers, and then here in the West, right? I mean, they have a certain tradition that they follow looking at numbers, but when they all, look at numbers, and because numbers are everywhere. They go gambling, and they have numbers on cards, they have numbers on phone numbers, they have numbers on your bank account numbers, then we have social security numbers and name it, and then we have numbers on your names. We have date of birth and everything, right? So what it is as per the Vedic tradition that I pursue, right? I've been following it for many years. We associate numbers with planetary energy, right? So it's called the Chaldean. We use the Chaldean code on numbers, right? So that's the code we use. That's the Vedic tradition, the Vedic code, right? So we don't go numbers we go from numbers from number one to number nine, basic, right? That's how we go, and then each number is associated with the planet. Let's say, for example, number one is Sun, or two is Moon, is three is Jupiter, four Uranus, five Mercury, six Venus, seven is Neptune, eight Saturn, and nine is Mars, right? So this is the foundation, right? This is how we look at those numbers. And then it is all about it's not predictive. I never said it's predictive. It's about harmonizing energy. You know, it's balancing energy, right? Balance. I'll quickly give you my example, right? See, and I wear this color turban all the time, right? See, I'm born on April the 3rd of some year, some years ago, right? So my energy is Mars. I'm intense Mars energy, right? And my basic numerology works with number three and number nine, right? These numbers. So number three is 21. I mean, those shades of numbers, right? And so I've tuned my life around that frequency, all the way. Right. So, like, see, for example, like the name of my business is, Jesse Kalsi LLC. The numerology tunes up to a number 36, right? Which is my number, right? My book, all about
Okay.
numbers, right,
Hmm.
has my energy too. Number
Hmm.
patching is my trademark, by the way. Number patching, it's a USPTO, right? The United States government. I'm approved trademark on that one. That again has energy of Mars, 54, right? So I use those numbers around me all the time because they always work with me, right? And that applies to everybody else too. Now, say if number nine is good for me, that doesn't mean it's going to be good for you, right? Because you have a different, imprint, right, and different date of birth. Different numbers kind of associate with you, right? So it is very important that we work with our own energies, right? We work with
Yeah.
our own numbers. Okay, now that still doesn't mean that every day is going to be lucky for us, because see, years change, times change, months change, and this effect is there all over it, right? So we go up and down and up and down, and then we can sometimes peak, right? So it is very important to realize these energies once you know your numbers, right? And
Yeah.
colors as well are very important too, right? So like I said earlier, for my example, right? So I said nine is a good number for me, right? And then so Sarah, if you call me and say, "Hey Jesse, I found this beautiful property here, and it's overlooking the bay, and you should come and look at it, and it's a great deal, depressed, say, right? And the number is 99." And you said nine is a good number for you. So why don't you go and look at it? Say nine, and then nine plus nine is 18, and nine, all that. So what do you think? Should I put an offer on the property? Yes or no, based on my numbers?
I mean, if it's a number nine, then
Good.
yeah.
Okay. See, no. See, that I wanted to trick you there. And I'll tell you why. Because see, even in these combinations, certain combinations don't work. See, when Mars comes two times, right? Like nine and nine, or one and eight, right? These are very intense Mars energies. So this will trip anybody. It doesn't matter even if you're on number nine, right? It'll knock you down. Right. So some numbers are very, very intense. So that is how you look at them. But if you say, "Hey, Jesse, there's a number 27, 207. It's right down the street from here. Great property, yard, and the garden looks so good. And you should look at that." Yeah, I'll definitely come and look at that, because I know I've lived in 27s all through, right? It'd be very lucky for me. See? Because Moon and Neptune energy. So now what I did was I didn't add the numbers up. I looked at those individual planet energy, right? Two is Moon and seven is Neptune, right? That combination is calm. Like the number three and the number six, if that comes together, I lived in those two, Jupiter and Venus energy. That's calm energy, right? That'll enhance my luck. It'll pick me up, right? The luck's going to get stronger and stronger. Otherwise, say, for example, it's a number 108 or a number 81. No, I won't go there again. Why? Because those are nine. Saturn, eight, and one sun are always in collision, right? So, so it's,
Okay.
it's tricky, it's deep, but it is exact. It is exact.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like it's a very nuanced science and an art
Yeah, it is.
that seems really really cool. I'm like inspired to now get a consultation with you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that is just to give you an idea of what it is. I mean, people, some people say that is, fortune telling, and no, this is not. Numerology is a science of numbers, right? Numbers and science,
Hmm.
numerology, right? And,
Yeah.
and, people have, people who understand this deeply, right? People who understand this deeply, they've used this energy to, in business as well. They've used it and made, understanding numbers and their patterns and all that. They've done exceedingly well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally believe in subtle energies. And speaking of energy, we're speaking a lot about energy. For someone who might not be familiar, energy can be this really abstract concept. So I'd like to explore it with you in a more practical way.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, can you give us maybe a little bit more of a practical or concrete example of how a person's home or workplace number might affect productivity or relationships or their overall well being?
Yes, absolutely. Now that comes to home numbers. I have a book out called "The Power of Home Numbers" that you all you know about that too. So and in that book, I've just mentioned about my experience with numbers with a broker. I'm still active real estate broker, right? And I've applied this angle of numerology to buying, selling, and benefiting my clients in many ways, right? And so what happens is, say for example, see, getting into home is very serious business, right? So so there are many angles to buying a property. So numerology is just one of them. Okay. Numbers is one of them, right? There are the other traditions, like you see, feng shui is very popular. They say, the Chinese come in and say, no, move this, move that, wind, air, space, and all that. Then the other East Indians will do numerology, but they'll say vastu, right? That again is the movement of energy, right? Aligning directions and, placing your kitchen and your bedroom and all that direction, your balconies in certain ways, right? To have the optimum flow of energy, right? So, and then on top of that, your numerology is also very important, right? So what I've always said in the past is you might have the best energy, the feng shui, right? But if your number is out, right? If your number is off, the energy that's going to flow in it won't be smooth. It'll be very disturbing because that planetary energy on the door, it's not working for you. So you won't be, you know. uh, So it is very important that when you buy your property, right, you'll have to never rush it, never rush it, Just take your time and don't say, no, I have to buy this property only, and you put more money, never do that, and I also believe that, besides this number business, I feel that home is going to attract you, that home will just pull you in, right? And
Yeah.
and many people have, as it's like I like to mention your mom, right? She was so spiritual, right? She always felt that energy, I mean, besides the numerology, she had that discernment, the power of discernment of just feeling frequency, right? Like she did for you a couple of times to buy the right property. So that angle has also to be considered too. But numbers, I would definitely say that look at them. It's serious business, right? And you're investing money. It's also it's an investment, and at the same time, it's everybody else there who lives there. It's their success too. There's
Yeah.
something called as number patching, and so that is about shifting energies. See, if you look around, I mean, I have clients call me all day, from all over the world, right? And they talk about number patching, and they're living in homes that they've bought earlier, and then things are not working the way they wanted to. And so what we do is, even if they request for a session, I do help them with using another number, which is planetary energy, right? With the idea to shift the frequency on the door, depending on all other occupants of the house, right? It has to be more neutral energy, right? To shift that frequency. And I have done that for many years again to, move, lift, make things a little better, right? But for some numbers, that are very intense, like numbers that have a lot of Mars energy, Mars energy,
Hmm.
or numbers that come in combinations like has 4, 8, 9, like Uranus and Saturn and Mars kind of together. Those are heavy energies, and in those numbers, though you can pass them, right? But I still be honest with my clients. I tell them it'll be a good idea to kind of, buy another property,
Yeah.
move out of there.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
I do that as well, because some things are kind of won't work with a bandage. It needs more than that. So
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah,
it
for
is. But
sure.
yes, very important. And the other thing is, see, I've also realized how over the year, right? I've seen many, this I've learned myself, right? Corner homes, right? If you're the
Hmm.
last home in a row, right? The last home, and there's no support. One wall's got to support this side, and not the other one doesn't, right? Those homes typically, won't go for more than 8, 9 years, So those properties, I'd say that, you should know when to cut off, right?
Hmm.
There are certain numbers and all you should know when to cut off, right?
Yeah. You've worked with so many, you have such a wide variety of the types of clients that you work with. You work with people in entertainment, education, business, all kinds of professionals. Have you seen common numerical patterns among really successful entrepreneurs, executives, or leaders that you've worked with? Are there any specific patterns that you tend to notice?
Let me see. Number one, right? I mean, if we talk of some big names, we can talk of this gentleman, Elon Musk, who just became a trillionaire, right? Elon's energy, he's 28th of June, I think. He's a 28, right? In June, I think. So he has a lot of sun energy, right? And now what happened is that, and his name's kind of very well adjusted with his overall frequency, right? Which is really, really good. So what happens is when you have, see, I've seen this all the time with number 28, right? So 2 is moon energy and 8 is Saturn energy, right? So individually, moon and Saturn are very unhappy together. Twos and eights, the 2 and 8 is always, they're very, but when it kind of combines on date of birth, right? It's, it definitely gives you huge business success too. It gives you huge business success, but at the same time, your marriages are completely out because you'll have many partners. One goes and one comes, just like that. I've seen that all. It's not Musk. I have some other people in LA too who have the date of birth, very successful, right? But the same energy repeats. So that is what that number does. I'm sure they're all good people, right? But they came with that energy and they don't know what to do with it, right? They just go with it. We just flow with our frequency. What do? We are human, right? So that kind of frequency. So coming back to Elon Musk, so Elon Musk now is just about in his 55th year, right? So he has the 28 on his date of birth, number one, right? And then he's up in his 55th, almost there, right? Which is another one. And the year is 2026, which is another one. So triple one comes, what happens? He becomes a trillionaire, right? See, 111, it just hit right there. And I think
Wow.
28th of June is, I think his birthday is, no, July. I think it's gone, right? No, it's June, July. No, it's right. It's coming up. So, so that's how it is set, right? So, and then again, this timing is nice. So now for his energy, say for example, now he's in his 1 year. So then one, two, the number 3 is going to collide with him. When he has a few years from now, that energy is collide with him. 3, 4, 4, then 4 is good, 5. The 6 will again collide with him. The 6 is Venus energy, right? People born on number 6s, they have money and attraction. All good things happen, 5s and 6s, right? But then 1 would collide with the number 6. I've seen that all the time. Sun and Venus, right? 1
Okay.
and 6 collide. 7 becomes good again. When the number 8 comes, then again it's gonna get shorty again, right? And number 9 comes, and 9 and Mars. With 9 is Mars and 1 is Sun. They're both hot energies, right? So they'll come and they're like in a sparking energy, right? They'll come and something would happen, and then something will be completely out of line, right? So like that. So everything is like in a state of flow, right? And
Yeah.
working on how those numbers and energies are kind of coming and being with one another.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it seems like there's a lot of different inputs that you look at
yeah,
and a
yeah.
lot of different types of numbers that you look at for an individual.
Yes.
But if we were really going to simplify it and just say, okay, what's one simple numerology exercise or some kind of insight that listeners and our audience could apply just this week to better understand themselves, not even for predictive purposes, just to get a deeper sense of understanding for themselves and their lives? What is a number they might want to get curious about?
That's a good question, right? So what I'll say, the first thing that they should do is look at their numbers and see which planet is ruling them, right? And that is very important to know. And I can repeat that again for them, right? So number one, as per the Vedic tradition, number one is Sun, number 2 is Moon, number 3 is Jupiter, number 4 is Uranus, number 5 is Mercury, number 6 is Venus, number 7 is Neptune, number 8 is Saturn, and number 9 is Mars, right? So and you can see what number is kind of ruling you, right? And so you have an idea that what planetary energy, right? Because they're all interrelated, numbers and planetary energy, right? So planetary energy is working around me. And the second thing is, if you have too many 9s on your residence, right? Just kind of reconsider that and see how your life has been there, right? Or you have, if you had, which means Mars, too much Mars energy. Or if you have like a number 1, 1s and 8s on your address, look at that again, right? Or even if you have that 1 and 8 on your date of birth too, right? Sometimes that energy also creates a certain challenge. So I just want them to, listen to this and be a little more aware of, see what's ruling, what's happening around me, right?
Yeah.
and be a
Okay,
little
well,
conscious. Yeah, because the thing is, it's so much to say, and I can't summarize it in 2 words. It'll be hard
yeah.
to do that. Yeah, it'll be hard to do that.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's just very nuanced, right?
yeah, and then just be a little more aware. Sorry for that. Sorry for interrupting. And just look at the color of your car and see, what color car you drive too. Or, just look at your social security number and just kind of put it together and see, what does it add up to? Things like that. You know,
Okay.
just, yeah, just start being a little more conscious and be a little more inquisitive beyond numbers in life. And then I think it'll slowly start jumping up, and you'll get more clarity.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those, it's more of an intuitive kind of art, I think. So I'm not surprised that you would say something like that, where if you start to notice it, information just starts to come up for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that is true, and for me as well, right? I've
Yeah.
done this, and I people's numbers, and I said something which is completely off, nothing to do with numbers, right? And
Yeah.
and then people wonder, "What are you a numerologist or are you a intuitive?" I said, "I don't think I'm an intuitive, but to be honest with you, many very often, I look at people's numbers, right? I do get, I see visions, and things start, knocking my third eye, and
Yeah.
this or this, how it is. That happens all the time to me too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think when you do have like an energetic practice or intuitive practice like numerology, I do hypnotherapy, and I've noticed in myself, I've just become a lot more sensitive, a lot more in tune to like what's going on outside of me, these subtle energies, right? And so I do think that when you start to open yourself up to a practice like that or a wisdom tradition, you do become a little bit more intuitive. So I'm not surprised at all.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
well, just like you said, yeah.
So, to get us to wrap up a little bit here, I want to ask this question that's been on my mind when I think about your work. There are so many people who are successful on paper
Mhm.
and they feel unfulfilled, burnt out, disconnected from their purpose. Can numerology identify when someone's career path is out of alignment or when they're maybe on the wrong career path? And can it be a tool that you can use to get more clarity as to what you're supposed to be doing with your life or your career that might be more aligned for you?
Absolutely, yeah. Looking at numbers can always tell, right? Whether you be a good lawyer or whether you be a good doctor or whether you be a good investor. I've known lawyers, right, who done great, selling gemstones. Can you imagine? They got into the business
Yeah.
of gemology. They're traveling all
Yeah.
over the world, and then they have this this machine in their home, and they are refining stones and making loads of wealth, right? But they weren't successful as lawyers. Yeah, I've known doctors, right, who become big real estate investors, and they forgot about their real practice of what So that is there. All that happens all the time, right? And I think we get into these different careers very often because of maybe many times because of our parents, many times because of what we see in the world, right? Until we find out the path that we are supposed to follow, and that at some point does come, though. You would connect to that road that you have to travel, right, at some point in your life, which is very true. I've known these I've known the clientele is so vast and so diverse, right? I've known so many brilliant people, right? People who are brilliant, they've been to Harvard and Stanford and the professors and everything else, right? And they have all this, left logic, left brain information, but that the other side, right? That they don't connect from the other side, right? Anything for them is not, if it is not in the book, it is not true, right? But
Yeah.
then there are a lot of people, right, who are kind of yin and yang, they're more balanced, left brain and right brain, right? And they are the ones who really excelled. They've moved up. They've done really well in their lives. So now to go back to your question that you asked me was numbers, yeah. So yeah, numbers can absolutely identify, and give one a clear idea whether you are in the right profession or you need to consider something else and things like that. Those who identify this earlier is better. I mean, those who don't know don't care, and they get lost later. I've seen
Yeah.
a lot of those. Their unfulfilled lives. And then they look back and they say, oh, I should have done this, or I should have. How it is, but then time that we just flow like a river. We just keep going, right? And then
Yeah.
back and they just yeah, and then it's too late. So but I do say yes, it's a great question. Be a little more look at see, God is always giving us messages. I mean, and we all know that, right? It's like, sometimes you just you get in your car and you just drive out and you suddenly see something, right? You'll see another car which is in front of you, which has a little sticker, right? Or some, that is how messages come to us. We know that, right? All the time.
Yeah.
You flip a newspaper or you put the TV on and there's something there. So it's like the universe is always telling you something, right?
Yeah.
And but some people will just disregard it, right? But if you're
Hmm.
conscious to what you see, what you hear, what people are saying about you, right? And I mean, you can do so much yourself. You can just you can just learn so much yourself. All the answers are there if you're a little more aware.
Yeah. I think the answers are there. I think we need to be brave enough to ask. And I think, to your point, just notice. I think a lot of us move through life in this very unconscious way
Yeah.
and kind of just taking things as they come and being very reactive. And it's a very different experience to live in a state of response rather than react, and to notice what's going on around you. And I love that you said that, the universe is constantly talking to you. You just have to be open to it being not in the way that you're used to being
Hmm.
communicated with, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Jesse, this has been such a fun conversation. Thank you so much for giving us so much knowledge on how to start thinking about numbers and how numbers can help us get more clarity on life. I'm definitely going to be setting up a consultation with
Yeah.
you.
That's wonderful. I'm always there for you, Sarah.
Yeah.
You know
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
And I know you have your 2 books. I will put those in the links to those in the show notes. But if our audience wants to get in touch with you right away and start working with their numbers, how can they best do that?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, which is www.jesse, Jesse, Kalsi, Kalsi.com, and they can, connect me from there. Or they can just Google my name, Jesse Kalsi. I think you'll find me very easily, and then you can, yeah. But what I do request whoever wants to talk to me is do a little due diligence. You can just go and check me out on Google. I have a YouTube channel. I have an Insta page as well, right? So you can go do a little due diligence, and then I'll be more than happy to chat with you. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. I will put all that information in the show notes for our audience. And thank you for making the time to share your talent, your gift, and your wisdom with us today.
Thank you, Sarah.